Not many people know this, but the real-life ghost hunters that the Conjuring franchise was based on had a dark secret that involved underage 15-year-old child brides. Many people are familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren, the married ghost hunting couple that became famous throughout the 1940s to the 1980s for their many investigations into hauntings, ghost sightings, and demonic possessions. And also, their exploits inspired many successful films and film franchises throughout the years, including the Amityville Horror, The Haunting in Connecticut, the Annabelle series of films, and most notably, the Conjuring series of films. The Conjuring movies in particular actually were based on the lives of Ed and Lorraine Warren and starred fictional versions of them played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, and became one of the most successful horror franchises of all time. But they left out one very dark detail about their lives. It was the fact that in the early 1960s, Ed Warren worked as a bus driver at a high school to make ends meet while they got their paranormal investigation business up and running. And during this time, as about a 35-year-old man, he met a 15-year-old high school student named Judith Penny, fell in love with her, and started a romantic relationship with her.
Allegedly.
Judith Penny claims that in 1963, at the age of 15 years old, she moved into Ed and Lorraine Warren's Connecticut home and lived in an upstairs bedroom and began her life as Ed Warren's secret mistress. So that's what she claims, but is there proof? Well, shortly after she moved in, a neighbor actually noticed what was going on and called the police on the Warrens. But for some reason, instead of Ed Warren being arrested, Judith Penny was arrested for juvenile delinquency and spent a night in jail. And so throughout the rest of the late 60s and 70s, Ed and Lorraine Warren went on to become famous for all their big cases like the Amityville haunting, the Cheyenne Johnson case, the acquisition of the Annabelle doll, the Enfield poltergeist, so on and so forth. But the entire time, Judith Penny was living as Ed Warren's mistress, and Lorraine Warren had full knowledge of it and was allowing it to happen.
Allegedly.
But this wasn't the only dark secret that the couple were keeping. Judith Penny claims that throughout their marriage, Ed Warren was physically abusive to Lorraine, and that in 1978, Judith Penny became pregnant with Ed's baby, and the couple forced her to have an abortion, which is especially ironic considering their strong Catholic image. Ed Warren passed away in 2006. Judith Penny moved on and got married to a more age-appropriate man. And in 2013, Lorraine Warren teamed up with Warner Brothers to produce the first Conjuring film, which depicts Ed and Lorraine Warren as a loving, committed, heroic couple who notably are not in a pedophilic cuckold situation. And as an interesting side note, the contract between Warner Brothers and the Warren estate for The Conjuring explicitly stipulated that Ed Warren was not allowed to be shown in the movie watching child illicit material, which is a concerningly specific request. And you might think that Warner Brothers and the producers of The Conjuring and the director James Wan had no idea about this dark secret the Warrens were keeping prior to making the film. But you'd be wrong, because they were actually warned before going into production and they decided to ignore it and make the movie anyway.